On June 2nd, New Mexicans are gonna
Pokemon go to the polls.
vote in 5 Democratic primaries. With only a couple of months before the election day, you might have heard about these ones. But what about these? We're on a quest to catch an interview with them all. But before we dive into the candidates and their platforms, we thought we should take you back to some New Mexico Civics 101 and cover some basics like, what does a land commissioner do? Why are the stakes for the Secretary of State elections so high? What even is a lieutenant governor? Let's start with the office of the land commissioner. According to the New Mexico Constitution, the commissioner of public lands shall select, locate, classify, and have the direction, control, care, and disposition of all public lands under the provisions of the acts of Congress relating thereto and such regulations as may be provided by law. Which means it's a very important job for New Mexico. The Land Commissioner reviews and approves all requests to lease state land for resource extraction, agriculture, and development. And the office requires negotiating with local, tribal, and federal officials to decide how public land can be used. If you remember from our previous coverage, there's a lot of big money interest in New Mexico lands. One of the most important responsibilities for New Mexico's land commissioner is collecting and distributing proceeds from oil and gas land sales to the Land Grant Permanent Fund, a $30 billion fund that's currently being used for educational resources throughout the state. Did you know that New Mexico is one of a handful of states that actually gets a chance to elect a land commissioner? So if you're passionate about public lands and the environment, this is an opportunity to use your voice and vote. Speaking of voting, you've got a chance to vote for someone whose whole job is making sure your vote is counted. The Secretary of State's office handles a lot of the state's business operations like licensing for corporations or regulating campaign finance, but protecting the safety, security, and freedom of every voter is the Secretary of State's highest priority. The Secretary of State is New Mexico's top election official, and their office coordinates with county clerks administering elections and the Board of Elections who certifies the results. So this is like another really important election because say there's like someone out there who's trying to coordinate to steal elections or something. And finally, we have the Lieutenant Governor. You can think about it like the state's version of the vice president. They're second in command when it comes to the executive branch, and they preside over the New Mexico Senate. That means they help bring bills to the floor for a vote and can be a tiebreaker vote if ever there's an even split on an issue. One big difference though is that the lieutenant governor and governor candidates actually run as separate candidates for the primary. So it's only after the June 2nd primary that the major party tickets will include both a governor and lieutenant governor candidates. So now that you know a little bit more about the primaries coming up, what do you want to know about your candidates? Send us your questions to ask and we'll try to include them in our future videos.